This is the Sludge Factory podcast, and I'm here with a really cool guest. We have a member of the really exciting black metal band, Black Anvil. Paul Delaney, I'm sorry. Doing an interview with Tane later, I'm sorry about that.
Right.
Paul Delaney, bass player, vocalist of really an exciting new band, Black Anvil. Thanks for being here, Paul.
You're welcome.
All right, not really a new band. You guys have been around in some fashion for quite a while. You guys previously were kind of involved in the hardcore scene, and then eventually took off with this new project, which I just got to say, it's really exciting to hear this type of music. It's black metal. There's elements of thrash in it. There's elements of doom in it. It's just an exciting new sound that I'm really happy to hear. Talk about how you guys made that sort of progression from the hardcore scene into what you guys are playing now.
It was pretty natural. Kill Your Idols got to a point where I was out of the band for a while. Rafe was out of the band prior to me. We were doing other things. It was still moving strong, and I rejoined to wrap it up in 2007 when they decided to end it. While that was going on, before I even rejoined the band, Gary and I were doing another band called Death Cycle, which was more punk, tuned a little lower, a little heavier, and it kept going from there. We kept writing heavier and heavier, and this was just what it became, what it had to become. And lyrically, this time it's not an individual vocalist in charge, it's the three of us. And the three of us have shared a lot of the same, have just shared a life together and beliefs together for years. And it was, the right time and place to actually do this. It's something we've wanted to do for a while. Not necessarily anything specific, but the idea of doing something more aggressive and heavy, because to us, playing hardcore was about being aggressive and having an attitude, not about being positive and helping people out, because we don't give a fuck about anybody. But all arrows pointed to this, and time finally permitted schedules, and we just got together and did it.
Excellent.
With no agenda other than an idea of what we wanted to do lyrically, and that's it.
Now, I've heard some interviews, and I don't know for you personally, but I've heard that there may have been some slight trepidation during that time, making that switch. Did you guys feel that you guys were going to be accepted right away with the more traditional black metal sound?
I knew it was. I initially didn't even want to mention that we were in any, former members of or this or that, because it's something new, it's something different. It doesn't have anything to do with the other. And I know how people are. People like to judge. People don't know. People don't know anything about any of the members in the band as individuals. Just some review that says, former members of hardcore band Kill Your Idols. It's easy to just think and not know the history of the three individuals involved. And I can just look over whatever people have to say, because I'm confident enough in what I'm doing. It doesn't bother me. But there's definitely a lot of talk, and I just think it's, people that don't know.
Well, you can't worry about that, obviously, and obviously you guys don't, because you guys have progressed until, I think, one of the most exciting bands of your genre right now. Let's talk about a little bit about the new album. It's been out for about a month now, maybe two. Triumvirate, already in my top 10 list of the year. Just brutal. Lots of exciting things on there. Like I said, there's some thrash elements, there's some hardcore elements, there's a lot of black metal influence. And one of the things you talked about, the vocals, I like how you guys handle the vocals. Talk about where that decision comes from, because you kind of sing with the more traditional black metal style, and I think some of the other, well, at least I'm assuming it's Gary who kind of has more of the hardcore influence.
And all three of us do vocals,
yeah.
On recordings and live.
Was that a conscious decision that you guys all wanted to be a part of the vocal experience?
We started writing music before we even thought about that, and the only step it was just the three of us, and I couldn't think about who to add to a band. It was just perfect that it was the three of us, and I just said, fuck it, I'll sing. Like, I'll try,
Yeah.
I've never fronted a band, I've never sang.
Wow.
I still don't feel like I'm a front man. I feel we all front the band.
Sure.
And I really like to keep it that way, just because it really is the three of us 100% each, you know? And, yeah, I just did it. I had to do it. Someone had to do it.
Yeah.
And I just stepped up and made it work.
Well, first thing I want to say about that is you guys kind of have kept that sense of band as a whole concept intact. I mean, it's you know, some of the things I was doing some research on you guys. It's hard to even find what your full names are. You know, a lot of times you're seeing just initials. You know, there's real no credit given to, you know, one face of the band, and I think that's cool because it's collaborative, and you guys definitely can tell you're all into it.
Yeah, and that's the point behind not really emphasizing or putting pictures of us in books. I mean, pictures will surface. Pictures have to, you know, there's press photos, but when it comes to a layout of a record or anything, it's the three of us, so everything was written by us.
And your music stands on its own, so that's cool.
Some guy may have wrote a whole song, I may have contributed a minimal amount, another song was more, you know, it's all, in the end of the day, it's the three of us in a room coming up with something, so it doesn't, you know, no room to nitpick or...
Cool, yeah. Now, you said you weren't really ever a vocalist. Where do your vocal influences come from? Because I gotta say, I really dig your vocals. It's got that classic black metal, witchy kind of sound, you know. I mean, who were you listening to when you decided you want to sing like that?
Nobody. It just came out.
Wow.
I wasn't thinking of trying to mock anything or anyone. I gave it a shot the first time when we were demoing stuff initially, and that's how it came out, and that's how I went with it. I mean... It's obviously, I'd say metal in general, you know, made me decide how I wanted to sing, but that's just, if I had a deeper voice, I'd probably have chosen that path, but
Sure.
That's what comes out when I open my mouth.
Well, it's cool stuff. Back to the record, I know you guys recorded it with, forgive me if I get his name wrong, George Fullen?
Yep.
And he worked with the Rolling Stones, is that right?
He worked at a larger studio at a time that he had his hand in projects from Keith Richards. It was some solo thing. Keith Richards to Cyndi Lauper. He engineered on a Dream Theater record. He didn't actually record those records, but he was on them. I don't give a shit what what records he's done, because I know he's a friend of ours for 15 or so years.
Yeah.
And he knows how to get our sound, which is very close to our live sound, and that's what's important, is to make us sound big and raw, and just keep that raw element to it, because our records have to sound like we sound.
Right. Well, that's cool. I mean, I thought that was interesting that you working with the guy from, you know, a very different musical background, and
he
still
comes from metal and hardcore as well as we do. He just, you know, a job is a job for him.
Excellent.
And had his own studio for a while. We recorded our first record there, countless stuff prior to that, and wound up losing his studio, and we got in at Mark Mendoza from Twisted Sister Studio, another friend of a friend, studio available. He was there to like take the trash out, and you know, it was the three of us and him, and there's a good chemistry there. He just knows what we want to do.
Sure. I got a comment on the recording process. Someone posted a video of you guys in the studio while you were working on this latest album, and I thought that was kind of a cool little snippet. You know, there's some scenes with you guys arguing about takeout food, and you know, I think Gary's just coming back from work. You know, had been cleaning houses all day.
He reads meters.
Oh, okay.
Living, yeah.
Do you guys work day jobs?
Yeah.
Okay.
We all have day jobs.
So how is that? How do you guys fit that in with your touring schedule?
Just make it work. If the job doesn't accept it, then move on to the next sort of thing. We're strategic so far, so everything's managed to work out.
Yeah.
But there will come a time when it doesn't, and you know, deal with that when it comes, sort of thing.
Cool. Back to the being in the studio, it was interesting to kind of see you guys kind of work as a collaborative. You know, the process that goes into your songwriting and your the actual tracks. I mean, it's definitely. I saw feedback coming from everybody in the band, you know, and if it was something that you guys had spent too long arguing on, you just dropped it because you knew that it wasn't for the better of the band, you know. So that was really cool to see. It was
an interesting clip. It was a friend of ours that did it, and if I was in charge of editing, I would have kept it a little less personal.
Sure.
Because I prefer to not let people in too much, but he felt the need to put out put out there what he thought was important, and I'm completely okay with it because he's a person that I respect 120%.
Yeah.
And there was one long back and forth we had about a part that didn't even make the record. So
yeah.
And I don't think anyone probably caught that, but.
Well, are you talking about the guitar part?
Yeah, he had an idea.
Yeah.
It just didn't work out.
And I wanted to comment on that too because first of all, I think Gary is just an amazing guitar player. I think he brings a lot to the band, and he's kind of a cool character. I like those kind of like bigger than life characters. He plays that beast of a guitar on stage, and it's cool to watch. But then you listen to him play that part, and it's like, this guy's got kind of a sensitive side too, and it was a great song, but like you guys said in the clip, it just wasn't going to fit this record, and I thought that was just kind of cool to see, not only that part, but the whole clip in general. It saw you guys from a different aspect. Sometimes we wonder about bands that play this aggressive type of music. What are they like as real people? And it kind of I got from that you guys are just a bunch of normal dudes, and you dig music, and you're playing music because you have to.
Yeah, and we do have to. It's what we chose. It's a path that we chose, and yeah, for obvious reasons, I think there needs to be a mystery with the band, but it's not like I took someone on a tour of my house on,
No.
for a clip on YouTube. So
yeah. Well, that was cool. Can you talk to me a little bit about... well, first, let's talk about this tour, because this tour is really exciting, I think. It just got started yesterday. We're at the second night tonight in Chicago. Probably can't talk too much about it, but how excited are you, as a fan of metal, to be a part of this, to be a part of these groups that are playing right now?
Oh, yeah, I'm psyched. This is a great first full U.S. tour for us.
Yeah.
It's with two bands that are huge, and we get to play in front of decent-sized crowds. That's our goal, is to just do what we have to do 100%, and worry about everything else after. We're sort of on a mission, man.
I gotcha. I kind of look at this tour specifically with your...
We've had this tour lined up for a while, and there's been a bunch of different changes, so
yeah,
it's good to see it finally start.
I think it works out.
I've been going back and forth, and there's been changes for 6-7 months.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say, personally speaking, I think this tour with your band Black Anvil, with Goatwhore, and with Tane headlining, is just a really good snippet as far as what's going on in black metal music today and what's important about that music. You have the traditional band headlining with Tane, but your band and Goatwhore, I think, are very interesting. You guys are incorporating that traditional sound, but you're making it your own. You're incorporating other influences.
And I feel that's very important.
Yeah.
Because we aren't Tane.
No.
And there's no need to try and be them.
Absolutely.
There won't be another band like that. I don't feel there'll be another band maybe in 15, 20 years, but, there's no topping something like that. And my influences and my drive comes from somewhere else, just as theirs does. And I think it's very few and far between, and I'm not saying this in like a pat myself on the back way, but you don't really get a lot of original shit, especially when it comes to specific genres of music. There's a lot of just basement recordings and stuff trying to sound like something else, and I never wanted to be a part of that. I don't want to have that specific, put out a record that sounds like Burzum just because it should. So I think that's what makes us stand out, and the fact that we have lyrics that have a purpose is another important thing. There's a lot of shit that I just don't. I could look at a lyric sheet and not understand what's going on there, and I think that's an important factor to any band for the most part. Even if it's simple, if it's a band like Off, Keith Morris, and the dude from Red Cross, that's like a super group. They just put out a couple of 7-inches.
Yeah.
It's really simple, minimal stuff. It sounds like early Black Flag, but there's so much anger behind it.
Yeah.
It's great. It doesn't matter if the lyrics rhyme or are simple and the song's a minute. There's something going on in there that's deeper than just that.
Sure. How would you comment on the current scene of black metal today as a genre?
in general, there's clearly a scene. These
Yeah.
guys are over here touring in that thing, and
Because the reason why I ask is because you've heard some grumblings that true black metal is dead. I don't think that's true. Especially not
look at
after.
my iPod. It's not true.
Yeah.
There's a lot, and that's a big inspiration to me as a person. That's what made me want to do this, and years ago, made me think differently than people around me, and scene wise, I'm not a part of any scene. I'm part of my own scene, and I absorb this and appreciate it. I have 2 other guys that understand the same thing. But there's a scene. People come out to shows in New York specifically. Half the any scene in New York is half shit. A band like Pentagram comes through, and I said this yesterday actually. I think a band like Pentagram comes through the first time in however many years, and they sell out a 1,200 capacity room, and everyone in their mother's there. And not that I'm the who's who in the scene in New York, but I've been going to shows for 100 years. I'm sure you know the same. You see the same guys at shows, and you're like, guy's been going to shows for 100 years.
Oh, yeah.
You know him or you don't.
Yeah.
And you go to a show like that, and it's hipster fest.
Yeah.
It's just super cool. And then Pentagram comes 5 or 6 months later in a smaller room, and there's 400 people. And that's when you really get to see who has heart and who cares and who's there for the right reasons. Not that everyone has to care as much as I do, but I'm a fan of shit still. Like, I sort of embrace the fact that I can still be a fan of certain bands because I'm
Very cool.
jaded by doing this shit and
Yeah.
playing festivals here, and you see this guy and he's an asshole, and you're like, fuck this, I'm done with them,
Yeah.
It's good to still, like, get excited about shit and separate being a musician and being in a band and, being psyched to put someone on your iPod and hop on a train.
That's awesome,
And there's a lack of that, obviously, because one day 1,600 people show up or whatever the capacity was, and the next couple months later it's 400 people on a weeknight. And I don't give a fuck what time you got to get up for work. If it's something you care about, go to sleep early the next day.
What else matters? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you got to get up early to catch a plane at 4:30 in the morning, you're clearly not going to go to sleep at 6 in the afternoon. You make it happen, and you sleep when you're dead.
Well, you just answered one of my questions without even me having to ask it, so that was awesome. One of the things I like to talk about are the fans, the fans as a community, how we all kind of, this thing that we all love together kind of makes us feel different and makes us bond together as one united group. So that was great stuff. I appreciate you talking about that. One of the other things, as a fan, and as myself as a fan, I like to talk about the bands that meant so much to metal as a whole. Can you comment? Are you first of all, are you a fan of Bathory? And can you talk about Bathory for a few minutes? What it means, what they meant to you, what they we got visitors outside. But what did Bathory mean to you? What was the first time you heard them, and what was it like?
I loved it because it sounded completely horrible, and it was just metal that wasn't completely, coming from hardcore and punk. I'm used to hearing like really raw. I grew up listening to raw stuff. I had people get me into shit. I got into it at an early age. Gnostic Front, who didn't record, not that it's horrible, but you know what I mean, like real raw, like
yes,
shit like that. And that's what attracted me to stuff. Even Venom,
oh yeah.
I feel like if someone played me Welcome to Hell now, I probably wouldn't get it if I was a younger, dude that was into whatever. I don't want to name names, but like a metalcore type of.
I get what you're saying, yeah.
I feel it was not necessarily a time and place because I clearly wasn't around when Venom came here the first time.
Right.
But it takes a lot to appreciate something like that, and coming from bands like Poison Idea, Cro-Mags, Agnostic Front, and stuff, Youth of Today, stuff like that, I can accept raw records, and Metallica, Sabbath records, Van Halen, stuff that I grew up listening to. Something heavier and nastier comes along, and it was attractive. And one of the bands that getting into Dissection was a turning point. That was a band that really made me open my eyes. Bands like Dissection, Merciful Fate, stuff that had more of a message that I was able to, look deeper into, really really did a lot for me.
Excellent. Excellent. Great stuff, man. Well, I don't want to take too much of your time. Can you just talk a little bit about what's next for Black Anvil? I know you guys just got started on this tour, but how many dates, and when you guys are done, what's next for you?
We're home December 4th. I believe it's 25 or 26 shows. And we don't have anything set in stone, but there's talk of hopefully Europe, another U.S. run in the spring, and possibly some dates in Mexico. So
awesome, great stuff.
Look forward to it all.
What's the one last question? What's the fan reaction like?
Yesterday.
Well, what I'm getting at is, there's a lot of talk about how the fans in the States are versus the fans elsewhere, Europe specifically.
Europe people don't forget.
Yeah.
People never forget. You'll see a 40-year-old dude in a Maiden shirt at Wacken Festival, and you'll see him when Sick of It All plays in Belgium. They don't forget. It's different. Here people forget.
Where do you does Black Anvil have a better following around here in the States? Where's your best following, would you say?
We don't have too much touring. We went to Europe once and just played 2 shows.
Oh, okay.
We did like a weird festival in Holland and a smaller show in a small town.
Yeah.
But from what I could see so far, it's sort of, there's a lot of curiosity, and we just need to get out there and actually see. But we could hold our own on the East Coast, and
for sure.
We've been to California once.
Yeah.
It was good, but we were playing to an already packed venue.
Yeah.
So just got to keep doing it.
Yeah. Cool, right on. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time. I just want to wrap up by saying the new album, Triumvirate, it's awesome. If anybody hasn't heard it yet, it's one of the year's top best albums by far. It's been on my iPod for the last month and a half, and I just can't stop listening to it. Again, Paul, thanks for being here, and keep going, man. Love the band.